What's up? A to Z Sports live on a Thursday, and it is going to be a big show because Jack and I each took the Titans' first $50 million of salary cap space, and we are deciding how we would spend it if we were Rand Carthon, Brian Callahan, Chad Brinker, Anthony Robinson, all of the Titans football brass, as NFL free agency is officially just a few days away. The legal negotiating tampering window opens Monday. Everything can start becoming official on Wednesday afternoon. Before the SEC basketball tournament kicks off in Nashville, the Titans will have official free agent signings here. So this is going to be a fun show, Jack. I know we've done a lot of work. We came up with this idea yesterday afternoon, and I've put together a lot of thought behind this. My first $50 million free agency class contains 8 players. Yours contains 6. So we'll have a really good conversation about this. Who is the biggest spend, biggest splash free agent the Titans bring in? What position do they play? Then where do they spend the majority of their money in this free agency class? And the first $50 million, are there still going to be holes left afterwards? Of course. But we're going to have a heck of a show here, Jack, on spending Amy Adams-Strunk's first $50 million of salary cap space. Her money, not ours, but we get to play with it. So, Jack, I'm pumped up about this. And then the Magic Bucket will wrap up the show. Welcome in. Excuse me. Whoa. Almost died right there. But welcome in. Please take this off my hand so I can fix my throat.
Hey, look, I love spending money that's not mine. So I'm excited for today's show. I want to hear from the chat today. It's going to be a big time chat show. So your wish list, be thinking of some guys that you'd like to prioritize in free agency. We'll get to you guys here in a little bit, but not before we do our homework early. If you're watching on Facebook, like the show. I'm seeing just 10 likes so far. Let's get it up to 50 by the time I'm done with this read. Let's boost those numbers. Thumbs up. It helps us grow the show. It brings in new audience. It helps everybody. So go ahead and drop a thumbs up. Like the show. If you're watching on Facebook, also share the show. Share it to your Titans Facebook groups. Everyone's got an opinion on who they want to bring in free agency, who they want the Titans to re-sign. So we want to hear from everybody. And in order to do that, we need to spread this thing like wildfire on Facebook. Share it to your Facebook groups. If you're watching on YouTube, tap that bell icon near the top of your screen and turn your notifications on. There are moves being made left and right. The Broncos just released Justin Simmons. You're not going to want to miss out on any of the Titans moves. So go ahead and tap that bell icon, turn your notifications on YouTube so you don't miss a beat. You'll be the coolest guy in the office, knowing every single free agency decision the Titans have made by turning your notifications on and subscribing to A to Z Sports on YouTube. Finally, if you're watching on Twitch, text that Twitch link around to your Titans text buddies who may be bored at work already. You want to kill that first hour? Well, come spin it with us. Come hang out in the chat with us. We'll get to your comments. But Austin, it's time to get the show on the road.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome to the A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Jack Gentry of the Tighten Up Podcast, and we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8-ish Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. That's at A to Z Sports. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us, and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where to go to make them a part of your new car buying process. WilsonCountyHyundai.com in Lebanon. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, as Jack cracks his back talking about the orthopedic partner on the show. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans at fbhp.com/ATOZ. And Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer with 3 great locations across the mid-state, Columbia, Franklin, and Murfreesboro, online at KrebsKubota.com. Holy crap, the last 24 hours, the NFL has been crazy. The Buffalo Bills cut just about everybody on their defense, and an all-pro returner wide receiver from the past, trying to get under the salary cap. And after all those moves yesterday the Bills made, they're still over the salary cap. And Jackie just mentioned Justin Simmons, the Broncos safety. He joins Kevin Byard on the recently highly paid cut safeties list as the Broncos cut him. Byard cut, I guess, was that earlier in the week? Or was that last week by the Eagles? I can't even remember anymore. It's been a wild time in the NFL, and it is good. It is just about to get heated up again. as NFL free agency kicks off a week from now. Jack, have you been able to keep up with all the news?
Yeah, I have been. And, this is notification season, right? Things are happening every minute of the day. So I've got my notifications turned on from Pelissero, from Schefter, from Rappaport, all the big dogs across the league. I'm getting notifications every time they tweet. Some of them are annoying, but it's going to be worth it in the long run. I'm not going to miss out on a big story. I'm not going to be left in the dark. So that's how I'm attacking this free agency cycle.
Yes. So we've got the first $50 million of the Titans salary cap space that we're going to spend today on how they can start to rebuild this team with GM Rand Carthon and new head coach Brian Callahan. We've talked a lot this week about the draft. We've talked a lot about the L'Jarius Sneed trade situation, but a lot of cap space. And so let's get to Rand Carthon, who was asked about how he would spend his salary cap space at the NFL Combine last week, where if you look at over the cap, it's $80 million. If you look at Spotrac, it's $90 million. There's a lot of money. How is Rand Carthon preparing to spend all this salary cap space? Here's what we had to say about the topic.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a lot of cap space. I know that's what everyone is talking about, and how much we have, but we have to spend wisely. We don't want to just load up and just go, and spend money. Again, we're trying to build a long-term, consistent thing, and you can't do that spending all $90 million out front. We got to be patient. We got to position ourselves that there are going to be guys that come free in June and July, like when we got D-Hop, that we have to have the space for and be able to afford it. And plus, we have to have money for operating costs moving forward throughout the fall, which, I think for most of the season we were in the top 5 and having space available. So we plan to be active, but we're going to be patient and let everything come to us.
They're going to be active, but also patient. Let things come to them. And Rand Carthon is correct. Like, it's a lot of money. They want to build this thing for the long haul. So I do not expect the Tennessee Titans to spend, more than $70 million of this cap space. I expect them to have probably 15 to 20 after the draft going into the summer, because you also have to remember there's a NFL draft salary cap pool that, let's just call it $7 to $8 million of what the Titans have to have set aside for their rookie contracts in their draft class. Then, as Rand Carthon mentioned there, they've got they want to go into the summer with extra money. That's how they were able to sign DeAndre Hopkins last year, is because guys got cut. So I think our number of $50 million for the first available free agency spend, I think is a pretty appropriate. I think this is going to be $50 million is going to be, for year one cap hits, the lion's share of what their additions or guys returning to the team in free agency. I think $50 million is the right number for us to start with here, Jack.
Yeah, I agree. And I liked what Rand Carthon said. And it reminded me of a quote from John Wooden that I really like. It's be quick, but don't hurry, right? Be quick. You don't want to be the last one standing in free agency with some extra money to spend sitting on your hands. You want to be quick. You want to get some guys early. You want to do your due diligence, but don't hurry. Don't rush to spend this money. There's going to be guys that are cap casualties that get cut after the draft. I mean, there's tons of options out there for the Titans. So if they don't, spend all of that money prior to the draft, I don't think it's a big deal. I know Titans fans might start to get a little anxious, but it's important not to rush this. You've got all this money. It'd be a shame if you spent it all and then the guy that would make the most sense gets cut as a surprising cap casualty somewhere, and you can't go get him because you've already spent your load. So be quick, but don't hurry. That's my John Wooden advice for Rand Carthon this offseason.
Yeah. Lucas says Zach uses that quote for our Monday age game segment. And Zach, it is a John Wooden. Good. Yes, it is. John Wooden had a lot of quotes, and I read John Wooden's book before he passed away, which was probably about 12, 13 years ago at this point. But also be careful. Put your socks on the right way. Be quick, don't hurry, and put your socks on the right way so you don't get blisters. That's what John Wooden lived by. So also Bork says they'll probably roll over 15 million or so in the 2025. I think that's a good thing to also remember too, is because the Titans are trying to set this thing up for 2027, right? They're trying to get this new stadium open and have a competitive football team when that opens. So if you can continuously chop away and rebuild foundationally and slowly instead of a quick fix, if you see all these houses jumping up around Nashville, the tall and skinnies that are done in like 3 months or something. Well, are those built the right way? Are they built to last? And the Titans and Rain Carthon are trying to build something that lasts. And the right approach is to take a 2 or 3 year free agency window and a 2 or 3 year draft window and put those things together to have a competitive football team as Will Levis gets into his prime and has experience in that new stadium open. So there's a lot of stuff to go there. All right, on to our list. So we've got our first $50 million for the Titans to spend in free agency. We're going to get you guys involved and give you ours. Who should the Titans make their biggest free agency splash signing? Who should the Titans make their biggest free agency splash signing? So we want to know from you guys, what's the biggest name you think the Titans should go after next week in NFL free agency? We'll give you ours. Here, spending $50 million of Amy Adams Strunk's money on this Thursday. But first, Krebs Kubota is where you should go for all of your equipment needs. And if you need offensive linemen, if you need cornerback, wide receiver, you go to the draft, you go to free agency. But if you need equipment, whether it's big or small for your outdoor projects around your home or your business, Krebs Kubota is that place to go in Middle Tennessee. They have 3 locations to make it convenient for you: Columbia, Murfreesboro, and in Franklin. The Krebs family expanded their business from just Columbia, where they started 18 years ago, to adding on Columbia and Franklin along the way in the recent years. That means they're really good at what they do. Family businesses don't just thrive in multiple locations in the equipment industry because they're bad, right? It's because they're phenomenal. Customer service is what Krebs Kubota hangs its hat on. And also being an elite Kubota dealer means they have the best equipment in the industry, the best warranties to go along with that equipment. So whenever you need something, if you need to buy a new trimmer, buy a new mower, or whatever that big power unit is for your property, or if you just need to rent something for a weekend project, KrebsKubota.com is where to check them out. Once again, KrebsKubota.com.
Best in the industry. That's how you can describe BetMGM. They're the king of sportsbooks for a reason. Look, we've got a great deal going on right now. New users can sign up with BetMGM and use that bonus code that you see appearing on your screen right now, A to Z Sports, and you'll receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. Get in the game. It's a great time to do it. March is here. It's one of the best sports months that you're going to find. Get in the game with BetMGM. Use our bonus code A to Z Sports and cash in on this deal and receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your first bet misses.
All right, Jack, I will send you to the chat. We will get to our answers here shortly. We have $50 million that we've spent for Amy Adams Strunk, but we're asking everybody on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, who should the Titans make their biggest free agency splash? Who should the Titans make their biggest free agency splash next week when it opens? What's the chat saying on this topic?
Pac-Man says Calvin Ridley. Mariota from Hello Ladies. All right, I laughed. Nwenu from Justin Belcher. Justin Simmons, a free agent as of just a few moments ago. Stephen King says it's Michael Nwenu. Patrick Queen from Brock. We've got Geno Stone. Great answers so far. Eric Castillo. Tyler Boyd from Mark. Ridley from Sam the Man. Jonathan wants to bring back Derrick Henry. Use it to rebuild the offensive line. Sign Hunt, Nwenu, Cushenberry. Calvin Ridley from Cooper. We've got another Patrick Queen from Jaron. Chris Jones, imagine him next to Jeffrey Simmons.
There's
in the middle
no
of that
way.
defensive
There
line.
is no way. There's no way the Tennessee Titans will have that much money on the interior defensive line.
That would be the most expensive interior defensive line in NFL history.
Now, I will say this. Time out real quick. Stop
Okay.
there with Chris Jones, because I did hear Buck Rising and Lucas Panzica talking this week about Christian Wilkins, who is on the market because the Dolphins did not franchise tag him. And so that was floated out there on the Zone on Buck's show. And Buck's response was, if Mike Vrabel was the head coach still, then could you see the Titans signing Christian Wilkins to pair along with Jeffrey Simmons? I mean, probably. Like, that's a very Mike Vrabel thing to do, is to bulk up that interior D-line when you have nothing at center or guard or wide receiver. But hey, you can get after the quarterback because you have to affect the quarterback first and foremost. So
Yeah.
I think if Vrabel was still here, then I don't think Chris Jones would ever be an option, but Christian Wilkins possibly could.
The younger of the two would be
Yeah.
would be a good idea. Patrick
I don't know
Queen
if
from
Vrabel's
Brandon.
still here. The older might be the more likely signing. Though.
Yeah. See what you can get out of them in about 2 years.
Yeah.
Ridley from Brandon and Darius. We've got the guard from the Rams, Eric Davis chimes in with that. Onwenu. Bucks Burner says his head wants Ridley, but his heart wants Queen. We've got a couple more Ridleys from Brandon and Chris. Speaking of Chris Jones from Rashid, Queen from Curtis C, Ridley, Henry, Queen, another Geno Stone from Richie, Ridley again, and here we go. Aziz Autry signed Mike Onwenu, Geno Stone,
Okay.
Awuzie, and Jody Jewell. So
we're your biggest. Who do you want to be the biggest splash? We want one damn name. All right. So Jack,
I like it. He's excited.
I know. All right, I'm going to ask you. Don't give me your name yet, but has your biggest free agency splash been mentioned by the chat?
No. Has not been mentioned by the chat yet.
Wow. Mine has. Mine absolutely has. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you mine because I don't know who the hell, because yesterday you were like, yep, I'm in on Calvin Ridley. Go after the biggest free agent. But if he is not your biggest splash, then somebody else is going to be bigger. I am fascinated. So I will tell you.
It's going to be controversial.
Oh, I am juiced up because I thought mine was going to be interesting because before we went live here, you were like, I don't know where you're going to go because you're putting context clues together on what I've said the last couple of days and who am I going to go with? My biggest name free agency splash signing for the Titans is the 16th overall player on our top 105 free agency board. That would be Baltimore Ravens linebacker Patrick Queen. I think Patrick Queen, who did not get the franchise tag, is a great person to bring in for Denard Wilson to set the tone on this defense right there in the heart of the defense. You have no inside linebackers. Jack Gibbons is there, and that's about it. But if you bring in Patrick Queen, a guy who can do it all from the inside of the defense to go along with Jeffrey Simmons and Harold Landry on the outside, you've got, Amani Hooker to set you up in the back end to build around there. I think Patrick Queen makes a ton of sense because in the NFL, your defenses, if you have a good spine on your defense, then you're in a good spot. And the spine of Jeff Simmons, Patrick Queen, and Amani Hooker, I really like how that goes. And so I do see Jake saying you don't pay off-ball linebackers. I hear you. But Patrick Queen is a guy who can rush the passer. He can play in coverage. He can also play and run, and he goes sideline to sideline. And so here's what I've got from our A to Z Sports contract projections for Patrick Queen. A 4-year contract for $73 million. That's an average of over 18 per year. I have him taking up $9 million of cap space in that first year. So my biggest splash signing, and there's a theme to this because I've got 8 players, eight players that I'm using. And Jack, I only got to $46 million of the 50 that we're going to spend. So I came under budget with 8, but that's why Patrick Queen is my biggest because there's a theme to it. Patrick Queen is the biggest splash the Titans should sign because it's finding the identity on defense. You get an offensive-minded head coach, so go get somebody who can wear that blue dot on the helmet to talk with Denard Wilson right there on the field, and Patrick Queen's the guy to do that.
I hear you. My concern is also spending a big chunk of your budget, at the linebacker position. Those guys you can find in the draft. Now, will the Titans draft one? They've got bigger needs, I believe, right now, especially on the offensive side of the football. But I like Queen. Your defense is going to get better with Queen on the field. And Denard Wilson, the rapport those two have after a great last season from Queen, it makes sense and it would be a fun fit. So I hear you on that. I my biggest splash.
Okay.
The guy that I want the Titans to spend the most money on may not be the best player at his position that the Titans bring in, but I think that this is a guy you got to go get. Okay. Nobody in the chat has hit this yet.
This is wild. I have no idea. And so real quick, Brian says, I want to hear all 8 and their cost also. I will get that. I have it written down on this letter tax mail that I got here for the business. I've got all my stuff written down right there with year one cap hit and name. So, okay. So Jack, nobody's mentioned this. We have had so many comments, people guess, and the fact that nobody's mentioned your biggest name blows my mind.
I'm fired up. I know the chat's going to have a field day here, but Austin, every offense that Brian Callahan has coached has had a big three at wide receiver, right? Denver, Detroit, and most recently Cincinnati. So the Titans are going to need to find that big three at wide receiver. They've got D-Hop in-house. They're going to go draft a wide receiver, if not in the first round, in the second round. I don't believe that Treylon Burks right now fits into that big three. So who are they going to go get? Hollywood Brown, baby. They're bringing Hollywood to Broadway. Listen, I understand that there's some stink to Hollywood Brown right now because when he got to Arizona, there was some shaky quarterback play, some consistency issues, and it led to his value being decreased. Well, you can go get a guy who's been a 1,000-yard receiver in this league for Baltimore, not a pass-happy offense. He's done it before. He's a three-level guy. He can make plays at the line of scrimmage. He can make plays down the field. He can get you some yards after the catch. He's explosive. He's also a guy that finds the end zone. Austin, in 5 seasons, Hollywood Brown has 28 touchdowns. He's a guy that can find the paint, get in the paint like Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan want. So with the shaky quarterback play in Arizona, with Kyler Murray not being on the field, with a lot of backups being thrown into the mix, Hollywood Brown hasn't been able to be Hollywood Brown. But he shares some of the similar traits that Jamar Chase has in Cincinnati. Now, I'm not saying that they're equal players. I'm saying they have similar skill sets. Hollywood Brown's a guy at the line of scrimmage like Jamar Chase who can start your quarterback off in a rhythm. Throw a screen pass to him. Let him take it for 12, 13 yards. You can find him on a deep ball. 40, 50-yard guy down the field. Will Levis has a cannon, we all know. So that could be a nice hookup between the two. Hollywood Brown's a guy that can get Will Levis in a rhythm, that can help Will Levis find the end zone, and it fills a need at slot. Like Kyle Phillips, it does not scratch that itch for me, unfortunately. So go get a guy in Hollywood Brown who's still pretty young and, build around him and, this rookie wide receiver that you're about to draft. And that's a solid core for Will Levis to get used to, especially with D-Hop out there. So I want Hollywood Brown. He's my most expensive signing that I have on my budget, and I went $3 million over, Austin. Hollywood Brown is my most expensive target. I think he helps this offense. I don't want to call him a dollar general Jamar Chase because he's more than that, but his value right now is perfect. You don't want to buy high in free agency. I know you got to pay to play in this game. You got to go spend some money to make some money, but Hollywood Brown's value is not super high right now. He's coming off a season in which he just had 574 receiving yards. He's a guy that stays on the field for the most part. And, yards per catch, it's for his career, it's over 11. It's like 11 and a half. So he's a guy that can, catch the deep ball, can start you off in some screen games, some crossers, some interesting goal line options. He's going to be a great fit for wherever he signs, but I think he makes sense in Tennessee.
All right. So Hollywood Brown and Patrick Queen probably have similar contract numbers. I think, around that 16 to 18 million a year.
I think you can get Hollywood Brown for less. I think it's going to be around 15-ish for Hollywood.
All right. So, but I think, look, Jake says much better idea than Austin's. I saw a lot of people that were like, no, Jake, I just hit that comment twice. Zach C says the answer is Queen. Phil says, I like Queen over Brown. And I did say, Drayden says, Jack, I said that. Jack, I said Hollywood Brown. So maybe
I missed it.
Maybe we got that missed, which is okay. Look, a lot of comments fly in. So that's fine. So Hollywood Brown is your biggest free agent splash signing. I have Patrick Queen. I personally like Patrick Queen better. I do not have Hollywood Brown on my list of 8 players. So that very interesting there. Very interesting. All right. So, and Titans Kyle says Buck was arguing for $20 million for Hollywood last night. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what Hollywood Brown's going to cost, because right now the projection for Calvin Ridley is around that $20 million a year. That's going to go up because he's the number 1 free agent. He's going to bid that higher, which means that Hollywood Brown's going to bid his higher, and Gabe Davis and the other wide receivers in that area are going to be more than that. So I've got Patrick Queen to lead the defense with Denard Wilson. and Jeffrey Simmons and Amani Hooker. You add Hollywood Brown as the Titans try to find their trio of wideouts under Brian Callahan for Will Levis. Interesting. Okay. Let's get to our second. So our second biggest Titans free agency signing prediction here in a second. But I'll first tell you guys all about our great partnership with Farm Bureau Health Plans. That is where you should turn, and any Tennessean should turn for health coverage needs. Farm Bureau Health Plans has been helping and benefiting the state for over 75 years across the entire state, 200 locations in every corner, every county of the state of Tennessee. They've got you covered right there because they invest back in their community. They're partners with the Tennessee Titans. You hear them all the time on Titans radio and see them at Nissan Stadium. They invest in other colleges and high schools and youth sports leagues across the entire state. You'll see that Little League baseball field this spring and summer. Farm Bureau Health Plans will be right there giving back to their community. If you need better health coverage, which you probably should, you can get better coverage, a better coverage with lower rate. That's exactly what Zach Bingham did 2+ years ago now. He saved 20% on his health coverage by having better coverage because he switched to Farm Bureau Health Plans. And you can get started today with a quote at fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Speaking of giving back, we've got a great promotion going on right now with BetMGM. Use our bonus code on your screen when you sign up, A to Z Sports, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets back from BetMGM if your first bet misses. It's a great deal. You want to start off in the green. You don't want to have to chase and dig yourself out of a hole early. So download BetMGM, get some skin in the game over there. They've got boosted odds specials, parlay features, live betting options. They've got it all. So download BetMGM and use our bonus code ATOZ Sport.
All right, so Jack, I'm curious to see your second biggest free agency splash, and so I don't know, is the chat answering their second, or is it just up to us here to share ours? Have you seen any? I'm not looking at the comments right now. So what are the comments doing? What's the theme of the comments right now?
There's a few in the chat that have jumped in here, and
all right.
I want more though. I want more in the chat. We need more responses. Who's your second biggest free agency addition you want the Titans to go after? I want to hear from the chat. Austin, you want to lead us off here?
I let us off the first time. So do you want to go second?
Okay.
You want to go here?
I'd love to. I love batting lead off, Austin. All right. Number 2 on my list. I went wide receiver number 1. Got to go O-line number 2. Mike Onwenu, walk on down, baby. You're a Titan. Mike Onwenu, 6'5", 350 pounds. He's 26 years old, really young. You ink this guy right now, 4-year, 5-year deal, and that contract looks better as time goes along. And I get it. Some people want to pinch pennies because you've got Bill Callahan, the offensive line guru, on your staff. Well, what about getting an elite talent with an elite coach? Like Brian Callahan said, that's when special things happen. When you get a special player with a special coach, that's when good things happen. Mike Onwenu, he's versatile. He can play guard or tackle, most likely going to be on the right side of the offensive line, especially when the Titans shore up left tackle in the draft. Mike Onwenu makes a lot of sense. It gives you a right tackle for the future. He's going to be entering his prime when he comes here, and he's probably going to be a guy that costs around $13 million, according to some contract projections that I've seen. So Mike Onwenu gets it done on the offensive line, makes that right side strong. That way you're not one side dominant up there. He's a great answer to bookend with the left tackle the Titans are going to take in this draft. Mike Onwenu is insurance for Will Levis. You want to get that passing game going? Protect your quarterback. Mike Onwenu does that.
All right. Justin says you just won the crowd back, Jack. And then Randy says, good choice, Jack. Phil says, need a center. Okay, chill. Well, we're just going through our first two. And yeah, the Titans need a center. We'll see if a center is on either of our lists as we're spending the first $50 million of salary cap space. I also have Mike Onwenu on my list of 8 players, but he's not my second biggest. So he was the easiest one to decide. Like, he was on the list like from the get-go as soon as I started to brainstorm this list of $50 million spend, but he's not the first. He's not the second biggest contract that I've signed. I do like Mike Onwenu. As you put it, you've got a starter on the right side of the offensive line. At this point, the Titans can't be picky. You need players who are starting or above starting level. Mike Onwenu is that. I'll throw the graphic up here again about Mike Onwenu. He's 6'3", 350. He's huge. Guard or tackle on the right side. And this is from, I believe, Matt Bowen or on ESPN earlier, sees him as a better fit inside at guard where he can use his size and powers. As a posted an 88.7 pass block win rate at guard this past season. I saw somebody ask in the chat, like, didn't the Patriots O-line suck? Yeah, but it doesn't. All it takes is one guy to really blow on a play for your quarterback to get killed. And so Mike Onwenu having an 88.7 pass block win rate at guard last year, and as Brad adds, he's only 26 years old. This is a really good signing. Brian brings up that Daniel Brunskill can play at center. And so if you bring in Mike Onwenu, now you're starting to create depth there of you've got Brunskill, who's versatile, who can play guard or center or tackle at times. Now you've got Onwenu, who could be your right guard or your right tackle there as well. On top of NPF's coming back from his shoulder surgery. Dylan Radins is still going to be battling for some type of role on this team. And Jalen Duncan, the rookie from last year, who can be a swing tackle potentially there. So I do think that's an option there. And Lucas brings up, why would the Patriots not re-sign him? It's a great question. I don't know. I mean, they could, but they haven't yet. They decided to not bring him back yet. They decided to not use a franchise tag. The Patriots have plenty of cap space. They could have re-signed him, but they haven't. So Mike Onwenu is looking like he's set to hit the free agent market. And I think, Jack, the Titans could nab him. Mike Onwenu is third on my list for biggest free agency signings, because my second, I'm doubling down on defense. Lou Man is in his own world in the chat like he is. He said I was dishonest yesterday, which I don't know how, because I'm living up to what I said yesterday. I am spending the majority of my free agent budget on defense. John, you nailed it. I'm going Kendall Fuller. Kendall Fuller, I think, is the best available corner on the market right now. You've had some guys get franchise tagged. So I do think you can't really go there. I'm trying to get to where I have my notes on Fuller, but Kendall Fuller, last season with the Commanders, he was the bright spot in the Commanders' terrible year. I'm reading from our A to Z Sports contract projections. He allowed less than 0.8 yards per coverage snap, limiting opposing receivers to less than 50 catches for the second consecutive season, similar to Jamel Dean, who signed a 4-year, $52 million deal. And Fuller has been steadier over a long term. So a 3-year deal for about $42 to $45 million is what Fuller will be. He'll be 29 years old this season, which is a little bit on the older side of free agents. But I like the veteran aspect that Kendall Fuller can bring. And so Kendall Fuller from the Commanders, where he spent time. There you go, Eric. There's also a theme that I've got there too. Chris Harris was the Washington DB coach 2 seasons ago, where Kendall Fuller was a part of that defense too. Now rejoins Chris Harris, who is retained by Brian Callahan and Denard Wilson on this coaching staff. So my first 2 big splashes are Patrick Queen to go with Denard Wilson from the Ravens, and Kendall Fuller reuniting with Chris Harris to be the Titans' new cornerback number 1. My second biggest splash.
I have no qualms with Kendall Fuller. I think that he would be a great addition to the Titans secondary. He's not on my list, but I do have a cornerback on my list we'll get to here in a minute. Kendall Fuller can do great things. The Titans, did not turn the ball over enough, or take away the ball enough, I should say, on defense last season. Get a guy who can go up, make plays on the football, turn the ball over, set your offense up for success. Kendall Fuller's a dude who can do that. So, Austin, I love the pick.
All right, so Brian asked how old is Fuller? He's 29. Patrick Queen, 26. I've already mentioned that Mike Onwenu is 26. He is on my list. Mike Onwenu is my third biggest spend. So, Jack, who is your third biggest spend?
I'm also going cornerback here, Austin, with my third biggest spend, but I'm going to go up to Cincinnati, where Brian Callahan has some ties, and we're going to go get Chidobe Awuzie. Chidobe Awuzie, also 29 years old, same as Kendall Fuller. He's a guy that you can put in your secondary, and he's capable of guarding your best wide receiver. Like, Cincinnati's pass defense was pretty rock solid this season, and Chidobe Awuzie was a big part of that. Now, he didn't have the interception numbers, but I think that's what helps his price tag. It's not that he's incapable of picking the ball off. It's that not many people throw his way in general. He only had 6 passes defensed, and when your name's not being called on Sunday as a cornerback, you're usually doing something right. Chidobe Awuzie, he's kind of settled into his role after being kind of a rotational guy with the Cowboys. In Cincinnati, he really found his footing. I think Chidobe Awuzie makes sense, and he's a little bit cheaper than Kendall Fuller, which allows me to spend a little extra money in a different position. So Chidobe Awuzie is my number 3.
All right, Chidobe Awuzie, who Matt Bowen also mentioned was a good Titans free agent fit at 29 years old, returned from an ACL injury a couple of years ago, 3 pass breakups, 57 tackles, 6 foot 200, not only man coverage, but also can challenge but also has the closing speed to play zone. So I think Chidobe Awuzie is a great fit, which is why, Jack, I also have him on my list. Look, I told you guys.
Doubling down.
I told you guys I was going to do that. Louis is saying I'm dishonest all you want on the YouTube chat, Lou man. I see you, 007 Lou man. You're saying I'm lying. I told you guys what I was going to do yesterday. I told you I was going to go defense heavy. I told you I was going to get 2 cornerbacks. I told you I was going to get 2 inside linebackers, and I've got another inside linebacker to come as well. So I told y'all what I'm doing. I am going Chidobe Awuzie to pair with Kendall Fuller. You've got 2 veteran corners on this team to really turn it around. I think if you can line up a top 3 cornerback room of Kendall Fuller, Chidobe Awuzie, and Roger McCreary in the slot,
you're winning.
Feel pretty good, man. And again, I told you the only guy that doesn't have a coaching staff connection that I've named so far, I've got 8 names. I've already listed 4 of them. Patrick Queen, Denard Wilson, Chidobe Awuzie has the Brian Callahan connection on the defense, so the head coach can trust somebody on the defense in that locker room. And I mentioned Kendall Fuller, who's got the backup who's got the background with Chris Harris on the defensive coaching staff too. Mike Onwenu doesn't have a connection, but Bill Callahan can come in and make Mike Onwenu a really good spot on the right side of the offensive line. So that's half of my list, and we share a couple of these guys. So I like Kendall Fuller, Chidobe Awuzie on the outside, and Roger McCreary in the slot.
That makes me happy. Look, if that's how they choose to spend their money, I'm not arguing about it. I think that would be a great idea. And, we talked about a little bit about L'Jarius Sneed yesterday. I'm seeing a few comments about him. Richie Guzman says cheaper than Sneed, which works. You don't have to part with that draft pick. And also, Tony Pauline's reporting that there are some big-time knee issues with L'Jarius Sneed, some consistency problems in that department. So,
and Sam and I talked about that a couple weeks ago because our Charles Goldman at A to Z Sports, who covers the Chiefs for us nationally, mentioned to us a few weeks ago that L'Jarius Sneed has I don't know, it's not quite chronic, but it's a concern where he wasn't able to practice a lot. And Sam, I think, counted it up that Sneed was on the injury report like 14 or 15 weeks of the season, including the playoffs there for the Chiefs. So that's something I don't necessarily know if I can trust that, but I appreciate Brock saying that I'm killing this list.
This isn't John Robinson's Titans anymore. I don't think L'Jarius Sneed's a guy that's gonna be a guy they really hunt after with all these red flags.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, for the love of the football gods, please do not give the Kansas City Chiefs a 2nd round or 3rd round draft pick for L'Jarius Sneed. Do not do that. Nobody needs that to happen for Patrick Mahomes. All right, so we've gone through, I think, half of our list, right? You had 6 players, right, Jack?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
You've gone through 3. Rename your 3 again.
So my 3 that I'm going to get on the outside of the building: Hollywood Brown, Mike Onwenu, Chidobe Awuzie. I think that's a good 3 right there.
I would agree. I have listed 4 of my 8. Jack has 6, so we're halfway through each. I have Patrick Queen. I also have Mike Onwenu, Kendall Fuller, and Chidobe Awuzie. Those are my top 4. I've got 4 more. Jack's got 3. I do think both of us are going to go back inside the building and bring back somebody, a familiar name, maybe more than just one familiar name. I'm curious to see what Jack has to say on this. So we're going to fill out the rest of our first $50 million spend for the Titans salary cap space this coming up next week in free agency. But first, the Bone and Joint Institute. Maybe L'Jarius Sneed's got a knee issue that's lingering. Don't let your knee issue, your shoulder issue, your back, your hip, your ankle, don't let that linger with the Bone and Joint Institute. Go check them out. boneandjointtn.org in Franklin. They are the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever that injury is just giving you a little bit of extra pain, you wake up not feeling great, you start feeling pain when your feet hit the floor in the morning, that's your sign. Go get it checked out. Don't live with that stuff. Live the right way. And the Bone and Joint Institute has all of the best resources and the people at your fingertips to help you out with whatever that injury is, or youth sports. Son or daughter gets hurt, the Bone and Joint Institute in Franklin is the one spot to go. Online at boneandjointtn.org.
Go online to betmgm.com and plug in our bonus code. If you're new to the game, if you want to just sign up, if you want to switch sports books, plug in our bonus code A to Z Sports. New users can cash in and get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if they don't win their first bet. It's a great deal going on right now. Start off in the green. College basketball's in full swing. The Preds are back in action soon, and BetMGM is a place to be for all of it. Download BetMGM, plug in our bonus code ATOZ Sports.
Visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older. Tennessee only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and other requirements. First online room money wager only. Rewards issued non-drop bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days. And for problem game of sport, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. All right, Jack. You've got 3 left. You're going to return some previous Titans back to St. Thomas Sports Park. So who is the next guy on your list of free agency re-signings in this category here?
I'll start with the guy that's probably going to cost the most. That's going to be Danico Autry. Danico Autry has been the glue to this defense over the last few years. Injury problems, Danico Autry's had none, really. He's been out there. He's been productive. And I know the red flag with Danico Autry is that he's going to be 34 this upcoming season. But he showed last year there's a lot of gas left in that tank of his. So Danico Autry has been a guy who can get pressure on quarterbacks, can stop the run, can play inside, can play outside. You want a guy like that on your defensive line next to Jeffrey Simmons and pair him with, Harold Landry and whoever else you bring in that can rush the passer. Danico Autry has proven that he's been valuable. He's probably the best defensive free agent the Titans have signed since Kyle Vanden Bosch. I'm not going to let him walk out of the door if I'm Brian Callahan. Danico Autry, you're coming back to Nashville.
This was an omission for me. I did not bring back Danico Autry. I thought about it, but it didn't happen. I just think it's the right time to move on from Danico. You don't want Danico to fall off a cliff, which we've said he could be doing the last couple of years, but he hasn't. What would the Danico contract look like? We've got him right here. This is according to our A to Z Sports contract projection project from Josh Keepo. Just a 1-year deal for a cap hit of $9 million. He's a veteran. You mentioned 34. So he's going to be expensive because I don't necessarily think there's going to be anything more than a 1-year deal for Danico Autry. I think it's the right time to move on from Danico. I love Danico Autry. He is the perfect football player. I said it when John Robinson signed him immediately 4 off seasons ago. A+ free agent signing. Zach gave me hell for calling that an A+ signing. It was an A+ signing, but I don't have the Titans bringing back Danico.
Is it just an age? So it's just an age thing? Is it a money thing? Is it both? Because you mentioned $9 million, and that's a steep price to pay for a 34-year-old defensive lineman. But he did have 11.5 sacks last year in Austin when the Titans were shutting everybody down on the defensive side of the football, when they were putting everybody on the shelf on IR. Danico Autry remained out there and remained balling. 11.5 sacks, a career year age 33.
I just don't think it's in the cards. I just feel like it's money and age. And as Mr. Robinson puts it, money and age. I think the Titans need to get younger. And if they can get younger, then they're going to be able to be better. Like, you're bringing back Danico Autry for what? Like, what are the Titans going to win and make the playoffs next year? I highly doubt it. They're going to not anywhere close to having strong playoff odds. So what's
push?
So I just don't know. I just don't know why Danico Autry is here. I would say if you're going to bring him back for 1 or 2 years, and Jake says, I don't think it fits for the rebuild. Yeah, this is a rebuild reset. And I don't think Danico Autry should be a part of it. I like the guy. He's great for the locker room, but I'd rather go spend somewhere else.
So I understand the concerns about that, right? But my pushback would be, when are you going to find a defensive lineman? Like, are you going to draft one? When? In day 3? Like, that guy's probably not going to pan out. I mean,
the Titans have so much money. Like, you can find defensive linemen who plays a rotational position, right? That's what D linemen are. And I think you can find some, and the Titans have been able to do this under Vrabel, and that we'll see how that continues. But you can find the no-name guys that come in and play hard. Like Danico Autry is a great player. He really is. But he's a hard worker. He's a try-hard guy, a high-level effort guy to go along with his talents and his strengths. I just don't think he makes sense for where the Titans are right now. If the Titans were in a spot where they could push for a playoff spot or had those type of expectations, you absolutely bring him back. They're just not there right now.
Okay, look, I hear your concerns. I'm bringing him back though.
That's
Just
fine.
me.
This is the first guy that we disagree on. So you mentioned you have a couple more re-signings for the Titans.
Two more.
Who else do you have?
Two more. Azeez Al-Shaair headlines this list. I think he's very important. You want to spend some money in free agency at the linebacker position. I think you can get Azeez on a pretty cheap deal, $5, $6, $7 million, come back to Nashville and lead this defense. He really came on towards the end of the season when he kind of got in a rhythm with the system. Gonna have to find a rhythm in a new system, but we've seen Denard Wilson elevate the play of his linebackers, just like Patrick Queen last season. So I think that Azeez Al-Shaair would be a great re-sign for Rand Carthon and the staff. He's going to help you in multiple facets. He's a great tackler. He can do a little bit of pass coverage. So I think he's a guy who can force some fumbles. And under Denard Wilson's tutelage, I think that he's only going to get better. Remember, hasn't been a full-time starter until last season. So he's got a lot of room to grow. I think that we haven't seen the best of Azeez Al-Shaair yet.
I have Azeez on my list too. So there's another one that we have a crossover. Azeez is the only Titans pending free agent that I added on my 8. I still think you could bring back like Nick Folk as your kicker. You can bring back Chris Moore as a depth receiver. But I don't have those in my top 8 of my first 50, but I do have Azeez. And so what I told you guys I was going to do yesterday was go heavy defense. And I've got Patrick Queen and Azeez Al-Shaair as your inside linebackers, dudes. Then I've got Kendall Fuller and Chidobe Awuzie as 2 new cornerbacks, dudes. I like how this defense is coming out for me in my situation. So I've got of 5 of my first 8, I've got 4 defensive players and then Mike Onwenu. So I like Azeez. I have him coming back for about that $5 million per year mark. I think it's going to be competitive. There's rumors that the Texans have interest in Azeez. They saw him a couple times last year and probably liked what they saw. So I also have Azeez. Who is the other former Titan that you're also bringing back too?
Yeah, I'm going SMB, Sean Murphy-Bunting. I think that he showed a lot of stuff on defense last year, especially in zone coverage. Now he can improve in man, and that's a situation where you wonder, who's gonna be the more versatile corner to bring back? Would it be Christian Fulton? Chat, don't kill me. Christian Fulton or Sean Murphy-Bunting? Like I wouldn't be mad if they brought one of the two back. I don't think that the Christian Fulton we saw last year is going to be the Christian Fulton that we will know moving forward. But Sean Murphy-Bunting, I think, is there's less variables with him. There's not as many peaks and valleys. It's more steady with Sean Murphy-Bunting. And that's what you want out of a cornerback, right? Like you don't want to have a day where he gives up 150 to a receiver. Sean Murphy-Bunting knows how to play the position. He's experienced. He's still under 30 years old, which makes him valuable on the defensive side of the football. You pair him with Awuzie and you've got Roger McCreary playing slot. I think that's a decent 3 out there. You get better than you were last year. Sean Murphy-Bunting's a guy I think the Titans should hold on to.
I like SMB. I decided to spend money on corners rather than go the route that you went, right? I Kendall Fuller instead of Sean Murphy-Bunting. Kendall Fuller is probably going to be twice as expensive, maybe more than that, than what Sean Murphy-Bunting will be. But I think the Titans have a chance to go for it and do that there too. So that's your 6, right? All your 6 are out there.
That's it. $53 million off the board.
I think you probably overpaid. So I think you can bring that down a little bit.
All right.
But that's fair.
Negotiations. We'll get into it.
Yeah. I think we can do that. So Jack, rename your 6. You get 3 outside, 3 inside. Rename your 6.
In order from the most expensive to the least expensive, we have Hollywood Brown, Mike Onwenu, Chidobe Awuzie, Danico Autry, Azeez Al-Shaair, and Sean Murphy-Bunting.
Okay, there are your 6. I've gone through 5 of mine. I've gone through Patrick Queen, Kendall Fuller, Mike Onwenu, Chidobe Awuzie, Azeez Al-Shaair. For my 3, for my last 3, they're all outside signings. I will continue to stay on the defensive side of the football. Again, connections is a theme with all this. There's only one guy on my 8-player list that does not have a coaching staff connection that I brought in, and that's Mike Onwenu. And Brian nailed it. Geno Stone. I talked about the spine of the defense. My spine of the defense: Jeffrey Simmons, inside linebackers Patrick Queen and Azeez Al-Shire, safeties Amani Hooker and Geno Stone. I like what Geno Stone is. That's 2 guys from the defense coming from Denard Wilson's defense from a year ago. I think Geno Stone is a guy who can get his hand on the football. Stone, I'm reading from our contract projection on AtoZSports.com. He was a 7th-round pick to a starting safety for 4 years and improved his snap count with each year. 2023 was a breakout season, 7 interceptions while operating in one of the most innovative, impressive defense in the league, which is now going to be run by Denard Wilson here in Nashville, coming from the Baltimore Ravens. He's operated primarily as a free safety where his coverage skills shine, which allows Amani Hooker to play his more natural position underneath. Geno Stone is the answer to the Kevin Byard trade. A 0.25 yards per coverage snap was 4th among safeties, and 50.8 quarterback rating was 6th among safeties with at least 300 coverage snaps. I love what Geno Stone can be. He's a really good player. Geno Stone is where I add in the safety department with Amani Hooker. How do you feel about Geno Stone?
Look, I love him. I think he's a great player, and he's a guy that can help turn the Titans' turnover bug around. And to be quite honest with you, I think that Nashville is a more attractive destination for Stone than Baltimore is. I mean, sure, he had a great year last year, but he's losing the guy that kind of turned him into a star in this league, in Denard Wilson. So you come to Tennessee, you become the ball hawk. You become the guy that's going to be erasing mistakes on the back end. Geno Stone would be a ton of fun in the Titans secondary. And hey, it's about time the Titans defense played with some stones anyways. So go ahead and bring him in.
I'll continue to add with the connection. Not only did he play for last year's Ravens defensive backs coach Denard Wilson in Baltimore, but he also is a college teammate of his hypothetical new safety mate, Amani Hooker. These 2 guys were college teammates at Iowa in the back end of that secondary for 2 years, a few years ago. Both are young. Geno Stone, Amani Hooker, each 24, turning 25 years old. That's a great pairing in the safety department to build through with their prime. So Geno Stone is my next. I continue. Now I'm going offense. All right. So I went 5 defense, 3 offense, more connections. I'm going to go back on the offensive line. Another connection here. Center Andre James of the Las Vegas Raiders. His connection, as we know, is Nick Holtz and Bo Hardigree. Both spent time on the Raiders staff while Andre James was a Vegas Raider. I think Andre James is probably a top 5 center on the open market. He's 26 years old. He's an upgrade when it comes to pass protection than Aaron Brewer. You're probably getting a downgrade in run blocking from Aaron Brewer, but Andre James has been part of a couple really good years from Josh Jacobs, right? Josh Jacobs, the running back for the Raiders, is one of those bigger name running backs that's trying to fight over how much his value is. And Andre James, a center on that offensive line. So that is where I go again. Andre James, who's probably going to be available in the $5 million per year range. So Andre James to go on the offensive line with Mike Onwenu. How you feel about that one?
I like it. Me personally, on my list, the way I made mine, I kind of wrote out the positions I think the Titans are going to address through the draft, and I had center on that list along with running back, left tackle, and wide receiver. So the reason why I don't have a left tackle, running back, or a center is because I think that they can do that in the draft. Center probably comes early day 3. If that's, if you don't have a 3rd round pick, if you don't trade and acquire more picks. But look, I think that he's established. He's a guy that can really help, and you need a veteran center with a rookie, with a younger quarterback. I think that that's very important in this league because, those 2 guys can teach each other a lot of things, especially a center can kind of teach Will Levis, what he sees up front, what to look for. So I think that that's an underrated characteristic when you go out and bring in a guy like James. So I like the addition. Me personally, I'm going younger, I'm going cheaper, and I'm doing it in the draft. But
All right,
I'm not going to complain if Andre James is a guy.
Yeah, in your situation, Brunskill can maybe start out at center while this
Mhm.
rookie draft pick can kind of grow.
Grow
I
into
think
his own.
that can make sense. But I think the situation for Andre James, our contract projection, he's the 50th player. So we're adding up some top 50 players here for the Titans. Andre James, the 50th player on our top 105 list on A2ZSports.com. 3 years, $24 million, but the first year one cap hit around that 4 to 5. So here's what we got. He was anchoring the Raiders line. 98% pass block efficiency rating over 960 snaps each season. Deserves nods for being a key cog in the machine that earned Josh Jacobs the rushing title 2 seasons ago. For the most part, he's been available and reliable presence, which is invaluable for the focal point of any offensive line. So Andre James is my 7th player out of my 8.
I like that. I did not see you going center today. Who's your last one? Let's go ahead and put a bow on this.
I want you to guess. I want you to guess the position because I'll name
outside, right?
I'll name my guy outside signing. I'll name my players again from most expensive to least expensive. Patrick Queen, Kendall Fuller, Mike Onwenu, Adobe Awuzie, Geno Stone, Andre James, Azeez Al-Shire. Those are my 7. What position do you think I went with for this last one?
So your 3 offensive guys are Andre James. And who was the other one? Why am I blanking? Onwenu. So you have one more. So it's an offensive player.
It is an offensive player.
It's an outside signing on
and
offense.
Eric says, is there a connection? Yes, there is a connection.
It's either a running back or a wide receiver. It's got to be a running back or a receiver. If there's a connection, could it be a Tyler Boyd? Could it be a running back? I don't know, a running back with ties to this staff.
It's not running back.
I'm going to guess some of the chat is kind of with me here. Kenneth Landon says it's Tyler Boyd. Derek says it's Tyler Boyd. That's who I'm guessing.
It is a wide receiver, not named Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd, this is going to be interesting. If the Titans do not have interest in Tyler Boyd, then clearly the Bengals and the Titans with Brian Callahan know something about Tyler Boyd. Has he lost a step? Maybe. I think Tyler Boyd, maybe not as quick as he used to be. So I did not go with Tyler Boyd. That might be based on a little birdie of something that happened at the NFL Combine that I know about, of Tyler Boyd maybe losing a step. Wink, wink, nod, birdie, chirping. I went with wide receiver with the connection on this new Titans coaching staff from the Chicago Bears, Darnell Mooney.
Got it.
Tyke Tolbert is the new wide receivers coach. Tyke Tolbert's a really good coach. He's been a wide receiver coach in the NFL for like 20 plus consecutive years. But Darnell Mooney is a guy who is the 3rd receiver on this team because I'm drafting the number 2 receiver with DeAndre Hopkins, either in the 1st round or the 2nd round. I'm leaning towards the 1st round. So I like Darnell Mooney to be your 2nd best veteran receiver to go along with a super talented rookie. And then you've got Treylon Burks. We talked a lot about Burks last week being the 4th guy to have to earn the 3rd. Darnell Mooney's done more than Treylon Burks has. There's no doubt about that. So Darnell Mooney is talented. He's got speed. He can burn. He's looking for an opportunity with a proven quarterback that that needs a deep threat. So you went expensive deep threat with Hollywood Brown. I'm going cheaper deep threat with Darnell Mooney. I think that's the right level free agent receiver for me. His contract projections 2 years for $16 million. So that's under half of probably what Hollywood Brown's going to get for a year one cap hit around that $4 to $5 million mark. I like Darnell Mooney to have it. Look, the Bears are a wasteland of receivers, aren't they? Because they haven't had a quarterback that can throw the ball consistently since your boy Jay Cutler. So I think Darnell Mooney is the right level free agent wide receiver for the Titans to go after. So my 8, I've got 3 offensive guys, 2 offensive linemen, Mike Onwenu and Andre James at center. And then I've got Darnell Mooney at wide receiver because I'm drafting a wide receiver high. On defense, I've got inside linebackers, Patrick Queen and Azeez Al-Shire, where the Titans currently have like nobody. I've also got Geno Stone to pair in the safety department with Amani Hooker, and then 2 cornerbacks on the outside with Kendall Fuller and Chidobe Awuzie. 8 players, 7 have coaching staff connections. The only one that does not is Mike Onwenu, but you've got Bill Callahan to kind of be your connection right there.
Look, I really like your list. On Mooney, before we move on, what number are you expecting Mooney to kind of command on the market?
I think it's around $8 million a year, but the first year is probably 5.
Yeah. And
so that's
Darnell
8
Mooney
players for $47 million is what I had. So you went 3 over, I went 3 under, so we equal.
Perfect. Darnell Mooney, kind of like Hollywood Brown, had that big season in 2021, 1,000-yard guy. But when Eberflus took over and Luke Getsy came along with him, he was kind of phased out of the offense. And they tried to draft to replace him with Velus Jones. They traded for Chase Claypool. They made a bunch of moves that didn't end up working. And Mooney was kind of left to fend for himself. And in Chicago, it's pretty much wide receiver 1 and everybody else. Like Justin Fields isn't the type of quarterback that's able to spread the ball around efficiently to where you have a 1,000-yard guy here, you've got an 800 guy here, and then a 600 guy. It was pretty much either DJ Moore or Cole Kmet in Chicago, and it wasn't anything that Darnell Mooney did wrong. It was just that he was kind of phased out because, the tight end's the safety net, and DJ Moore, much more talented than anybody else on that roster. So Darnell Mooney, I still believe that there's a good player there. He's only 26 with a 1,000-yard season under his belt. So, you know what? If they go Mooney over Hollywood Brown, that'd save them some dinero, and you get to throw it around on the offensive line or on defense if you'd like. I wouldn't mind Mooney. I do think Hollywood Brown's the better player. But if the price tag is significantly different between those 2 players, I think Mooney becomes interesting.
Yeah, I think Mooney's, again, 26, right? And my idea is I like drafting a receiver at 7. That's how I feel. Like that's my ideal situation. So if you have Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze at 7 with Darnell Mooney and DeAndre Hopkins is gone. So in 2025, you've got wide receiver 1 in Neighbors or Odunze, and Darnell Mooney is a really good wide receiver 2 for you, and a guy who's got deep ball speed that Will Levis needs. And look, 3 seasons ago, he was a 1,000-yard guy with Chicago.
Yeah. No, and he was a big play guy. Like we talked about, I talked about how, Hollywood Brown averaged 11.5 yards a catch. Darnell Mooney's nearly a full yard better than that. Like you want to talk about explosive, and he can do the same things at the line of scrimmage, take a screen for 15 yards. He can create some separation on crossing routes, can be an asset on the goal line, even though he doesn't have great touchdown numbers yet in his career. Darnell Mooney's skill set would fit in a Brian Callahan offense. He's always had that quick twitch guy, and that would scratch that itch for the Titans in free agency by going to get Darnell Mooney.
Yeah, I think it's a big-time haul. Like those are 8 players. I think the Titans are now, you add – and I also did this, right? I went 5 defensive free agents, 3 offensive free agents, because I think the first 2 picks are going to be offensive players. So now your biggest 10 roster moves are 5 offense, 5 defense.
Yeah. I like your plan. I mean, it's a great plan, and you were able to get 8 guys instead of just 6 with the money that we allotted ourselves. So it was an efficient way to do it, and the coaching connections make these things really interesting. You've put a couple of guys, a little higher on my radar just with their connections to the Titans. Darnell Mooney's one of them. So that's kind of how free agency works.
Patrick Queen, Denard Wilson, Geno Stone, Denard Wilson, and Amani Hooker as a college teammate. Kendall Fuller, Chris Harris. Chidobe Awuzie, obviously Brian Callahan, and the special teams coach as well came down from the Bengals. Aziz obviously was here. Darnell Mooney comes over from Chicago. Tyke Tolbert was his wide receivers coach last year. He's with the Titans this year. And center Andre James was on the Raiders last year. Bo Hardigree. And then before that, Nick Holtz, the offensive coordinator, saw Andre James conduct the Raiders offensive line the last few years. And again, I think the other thing about my 3 offensive guys, they're all 26 years old, right?
Young.
Some my defensive
younger,
guys,
you get faster.
Yep.
Two very important things in this league. And Lucas says Jack is not the GM. That's a good thing. It is a good thing.
I think Jack, you had more cap to spend. I believe you overshot your projections. You had more money to spend there. You could have added a couple more in there. So if you want to add 2 on your list for mine, you absolutely can do that. We can work together on this. You can take 2
I think
players.
the guy that I would add would be Geno Stone. That would be the guy that I would want on your list that wasn't on my list. I think Geno Stone does a lot on the back end, and for a team that couldn't stop a third down passing play last year for their life, you get a guy like Geno Stone who not only can stop the play but can take the ball away and set your offense up for a short drive. Makes a lot of sense, and the fact that he had such great success in Denard Wilson's scheme last year, the fit is there. So if there's one guy on my list that wasn't on my list that was on yours that I'd like to have, it would be Geno Stone. I love that move.
All right. Good deal. All right, Jack. Great project this morning. I think we did a phenomenal job with that. We didn't spend all of Rand Carthon's salary cap space, but we spent a good amount of it. And I think that allows the Titans to compete. Now it is time for the Magic Bucket. Shout out Wilson County Hyundai, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon for that new ride. Or again, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Jack, tomorrow I will do Santa. We thought about me being Santa, doing the wish list topic, but I was like, you know what? My list is too damn serious to be wearing. So tomorrow I will be Santa because I wanted to be taken seriously with what I had because I put some work into this list. So, all right, let's go. This is for me. Let's see here. I've done this before. I think you've done it. I'm going to trash that one. I think we've all done it.
What?
It was whispering the mic about taking you out for seafood dinner.
That's pretty good.
I have not done this. You have. Rooney asks, how do you put in Magic Bucket suggestions? DM on Twitter at A to Z Sports. The DMs are open. At A to Z Sports. DM the Twitter account.
Y'all send a bunch over.
Yeah, send a bunch. What is the best appetizer of all time?
Nice.
You answered this already. I have not.
I remember I hated my answer. I forgot what I said.
Yeah, you had immediate regret after you shared your answer. I can't remember what it was, though.
I think I did like chips and queso or something.
Yeah, you might have.
A real bad answer.
All right. This is for you. I don't think you've done this.
Okay.
What? I'll give you my answer first.
You're going to make me wait? I
Yeah,
won't even get to
because
know mine.
yours is a walk-off in the show after it's over type of thing.
Okay, cool.
The best appetizer ever, cheese beans or cheese beans, wherever you're from. If you're in Nashville, they're cheese beans. If you're in Knoxville, they're cheese beans with a G. Cheese beans are the best, whether they're the cheddar ones or the pepper jack cheese beans. Phenomenal. They come out, eat them while they're hot. They're basically just fried balls of melted cheese that you dip into anything, whether it's ranch, honey mustard, or marinara sauce. I like the honey mustard with my cheese beans, but man, cheese beans are the absolute freaking best. So if you're in the Nashville area, I will have to give a shout out because we worked with them in the past. Corner Pub has cheese beans. You can check those out. They're fantastic. The Corner Pub in Brentwood or downtown. Yeah, but they're not cheese balls. They're not cheese curds. They're cheese beans. They're different. They're not what you get in Wisconsin. They're melted fried balls of cheese. They have to be prepared the right way, the right type of appetizer. That is the best appetizer of all time. They're not cheese curds.
It's hilarious.
They're also not bite-sized mozzarella sticks. They're different.
They're cubes. They're like little cubes, and they're delicious. It's funny that you actually said this because on Tuesday, me and my buddy Easton Freeze went to the Corner Pub in Brentwood, and we got down on some cheese beans, and it's delicious. Dip them in some honey mustard, and life is good from there. Love that.
They're not cheese curds. That is the wrong thing. They're not. I promise you they're not. I have had cheese curds, and they are not cheese beans. They are not mozzarella sticks. They are not cheese beans. They're not fried cheese curds, I swear. And I can't post a picture because I haven't eaten them in a while because they're really bad for you, but they're so damn good.
but they're so good.
They're so good. This is how much I used to love them. I once had a problem to where I gave up cheese bings for New Year's resolution.
They're addicting.
Okay. They are. Yeah. I could go down.
Eat one, you got to eat them all.
Yeah. All right. So, Jack, 45 seconds on the clock. How much of the alphabet can you say backwards in 45 seconds? I have the clock ready, and this is the backwards alphabet. So take your time. You don't have to finish it, but how far backwards in the alphabet can you go in 45 seconds? I will start. I will give you the first one. Z is how you will start. So I will start the clock when you say the letter Z. 45 seconds.
Z, Y, X, W, V, U, T, S, R, Q, P, O, N, M, L, K, I, J, K, J, I, H, F, E, D, C, B, A.
Oh my gosh, you did it in 24 seconds.
Did I leave any out? I feel like I may have skipped a letter.
I don't think you did.
Maybe not.
You corrected yourself with the I and K.
Yeah, I had to fix that.
Did you miss? Oh, you.
I
Nick
might
said
have.
you
I think I missed
G.
G. I did miss G. I knew I left one out.
You missed G. Yeah,
I have the back end's easier for me. Like the back half I can do, but
yeah, it's because that's what
after
you probably.
I think it's after Q. It's either after Q or after P. That's when it gets really hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you went straight H to F instead of G.
Yeah,
and your last name is Gentry.
I know.
What are you doing, man?
It's the best letter.
Debatable. All right. Great show on this Thursday. Look, this stuff is fun. Next week is when stuff hits the fan with free agency. So make sure you're tuned in to A to Z Sports across the board. Buck Rising will be live tonight for one more time for prime time this week. Make sure you hit that like button. Jack and I put a lot of work into this show with all this preparation, all this spending of Amy Armstrong's money. So hit that like button, thumbs up on the like button on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We need way more than what we have already today. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow on a Friday morning. Appreciate it as always.
Tighten up pod out now.